The line at airport security was long, tired travelers, rolling suitcases, the usual chaos of a Monday morning. But when Angela Porter stepped forward, everything suddenly went quiet. "Ma'am, can you step aside?" the TSA officer said. Angela paused. "Is there a problem?" He didn't answer, just gestured to another guard. "Secondary check." People in line began to glance her way. Some curious, others suspicious. Angela had done this hundreds of times before: business trips, conferences, speaking events. Always the same bag. Always the same laptop. But this time felt different. The officer's eyes lingered too long. His questions cut deeper. "Where are you headed? Why are you traveling alone? What's the purpose of your trip?" Each word carried a weight that said, "You don't look like you belong here." Angela tried to stay calm. "I'm on official business," she said. "Official business?" The officer smirked. "Sure." He unzipped her briefcase, rifled through her papers, ignoring her court ID that sat right on top. She clenched her fists. "Not here. Not again." Another officer joined in. "Ma'am, we're going to need to ask you some more questions in private." The crowd watched as they led her away, whispering. And as Angela walked into that back room, she told herself she'd stay calm. Because in a few minutes, when they realized who she really was, the look on their faces would tell a story worth remembering. The interrogation room was small, no windows, one metal table, 2 officers, and a growing storm of humiliation. Angela placed her hands on the table. "Can someone please explain what this is about?" One officer, a younger man, glanced at her documents. "Your ID looks off." "Off?" Angela repeated. "That's a federal judiciary badge." He shrugged. "Could be fake. We've seen worse." Angela's heartbeat quickened. She'd been mistaken before, followed in stores, questioned at events, but this felt different. This was official. Institutional. "I'd like to speak to your supervisor," she said firmly. The officer folded his arms. "You'll speak when we're ready." Angela inhaled slowly, fighting to stay composed. "You've dealt with tougher rooms than this," she told herself. "Courtrooms. Cross-examinations. Hostile witnesses." But the sting wasn't professional, it was personal. As they questioned her, she caught phrases. "Random check, unverified credentials, unusual travel pattern." Unusual, because she'd flown first class. Because her luggage was designer. Because her skin was brown. After 20 minutes, a senior officer entered. "What's going on here?" The younger guard replied. "Suspicious passenger, inconsistent documentation." The senior officer took one look at Angela's ID, then froze. He lifted the badge closer, reading aloud. "Federal Judge Angela Porter, United States District Court." The room went silent. Angela crossed her arms. "Now do you want to tell me why I'm here?" The senior officer's tone shifted instantly. "Ma'am, there seems to have been a misunderstanding." Angela's eyes were sharp. "A misunderstanding?" "Yes, ma'am. One of our new agents misinterpreted your clearance." "Misinterpreted?" she repeated slowly. "You dragged me into a back room because he misinterpreted?" The officer swallowed. "I'm deeply sorry. We'll expedite your screening." Angela gathered her things silently. But before leaving, she turned back. "Do you know what the irony is?" she said. "I preside over cases involving civil rights and discrimination. I rule on the very policies that are supposed to prevent this." The young officer looked away. She continued, "Maybe it's time someone rules on you." And with that, she walked out, calm, composed, but burning inside. Angela sat at her gate, laptop open, but her mind replayed the scene on loop. The whispers, the humiliation, the way they hadn't believed her even when proof was in their hands. She started typing. Not as a victim, but as a professional documenting evidence. Every word precise, deliberate, factual. A passenger nearby, a woman who'd seen the whole thing, leaned over. "Ma'am, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for what they did. It wasn't right." Angela smiled faintly. Thank you. I appreciate that. The woman hesitated. Are you really a judge? Angela nodded. For over 15 years. The woman shook her head. They treated you like a suspect. Angela closed her laptop. Sometimes people confuse authority with appearance. Minutes later, a commotion erupted near the gate. The TSA supervisor who had earlier apologized was now running toward her, followed by 2 corporate security officers. Judge Porter, he said breathlessly. The director of Homeland Security just called. They were informed about what happened. Angela arched an eyebrow. That was quick. Yes, ma'am. Apparently someone recorded the entire incident and posted it online. It's going viral. Angela blinked. Viral? He nodded. Millions of views in 2 hours. Within minutes, journalists began calling her office. By the time her plane landed, news headlines were everywhere. Black judge detained at airport after TSA calls her suspicious. Federal judge questioned over fake ID. Turns out she wrote the law they quoted. The public outrage was immediate. The agency issued a formal apology within 24 hours. But Angela didn't celebrate. She knew what most people didn't. For every one viral story, there were hundreds no one ever saw. At the next judicial conference, Angela gave her speech, the same one she'd planned to deliver before the flight. But this time, she opened with a new line. Yesterday, I wasn't treated like a judge. I wasn't even treated like a citizen. I was treated like a threat. But I'm not here today to demand respect for myself. I'm here to demand it for the next person who can't prove they deserve it. The room fell silent. Every word was calm. Controlled. Yet it shook everyone listening. Because she wasn't just speaking about airports, she was speaking about justice. A week later, the TSA issued new training guidelines inspired by her incident, focused on implicit bias, identification handling, and professional conduct. But Angela didn't stop there. She founded a small initiative called the Porter Project, aimed at helping professionals of color who experience discrimination in travel and business. When asked by reporters how she stayed so calm, she said, "Because anger fades, but action echoes." Her story became a reminder that dignity doesn't depend on how others see you. It depends on how you see yourself, even when you're being tested. And as she told her students years later, when someone doubts who you are, let your truth be louder than their assumptions. What would you have done if you saw her being taken aside? Would you have stayed quiet or spoken up? Tell me in the comments below. If you believe respect isn't something that should be earned through titles or power, but something owed to every human being, hit like, share, and subscribe for more stories that reveal the truth about bias, dignity, and courage. Because sometimes, the most powerful person in the room is the one they almost didn't let through the door.